Okay, now it's time for the discussion time. And as usual, the first part of the discussion is composed by collecting your thought about the open question in the area. And to do so and to collecting all the possible open question, you can go through this easy form that have space for free open issue that you think might be interesting for the audience. So we have 4 minutes. We left 4 minutes in a way that each one can introduce its open question.
Okay.
In the form. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So just to recap, 4 minutes, and you can get access to this form just with 3 fields where you would like to ask you issues that you think that are relevant for the field of bias in search and recommendation. So I think that we have collected a pretty nice and also long list of open issues. This also highlights that this field is very challenging and active. Okay, so yeah, maybe let's start with the first one, because I've seen that is also mentioned in other open issues that we have at the bottom. So one open issue that has been highlighted is that we need more awareness for this topic outside, let's say, the academic bubble, and we should also need to involve experts who come from different fields that, let's say, computer science. And I think that that's really a good point. And I would like to ask maybe who mentioned this point, such that we can argument a little bit more, and then I can follow up. Who? Okay. You have some ideas, but I don't want to.
Yeah, but I'm biased myself in this because my topic was more kind of sociology-based approach. And I'd like to see that even more in this regard, because why are we doing that? Because humans produce biases, recreated, and kind of make the systems as they are, with their data, with their labeling, with their algorithms, for example. So I think this should reach far more people outside computer science researchers that I get that here. But yeah, I just think more discipline should be involved.
Thanks. Yes, yes, I agree, because I was also thinking about, for instance, the labeling task in your work. I think that there are people who are labeling the tasks are computer scientists, basically, or around that. And so one challenge is, how can we involve people coming from other fields in these, let's say, computer science tasks that are also relevant for them at some point? I don't know. I have no real question for this, but I think that we need to work a bit more on that. We know that it's costly because it takes time to reach out to people and to get them involved, because all of us have a lot of things to do. But I think that it's something we should insist to, such that we can really get the point on that. And then I think that also another interesting point that comes out from multiple answers is the trade-off between accuracy and fairness. One point out that, can we overcome the trade-off between accuracy and fairness? And another one is also asking, is there any trade-off between effectiveness and fairness? And for this, I think that I'm not really sure that there is really a trade-off. We have seen in a lot of works that it seems the case, but we should also think that our data sets are biased, and also, and not only the training part, but also the testing part of our data. So the data we use for testing our models is also biased. So for instance, if we want to mitigate popularity bias and we use a testing set that is inherently biased towards popularity, it is very likely that you will get a lower accuracy. So the point is that should we also consider other ways to create our testing part such that it's not biased towards, in this case, popularity? And could this highlight that there is no real trade-off between accuracy and fairness related to the popularity issue, for instance? So from my perspective, I think that we should work a bit more on the data we use to train and test our models. And then I'm not really sure that it's really a trade-off. And I can also add one more point that comes from another field than recommender, because we are in our research group, we also work on personalization based on biometric data. And in that case, we have seen that biometric systems that use something that you are, so the most accurate one are also the fairest. So it's not really and always a trade-off between accuracy and fairness. So this is my perspective. I don't know whether the other person who mentioned these points wants to add more. Okay.
Mirko, I can say something about it. So my feelings about this problem is that it's not a trade-off per se, but you need to somehow give the priority as part of the problem. So not only in the case, I'm thinking more in the case of classification, not only you are going to say which are somehow the protected categories, but also you need to say how much you need to protect them, because otherwise you can invent whatever you like, but at the end of the story you need to give precedence to some aspect. So one of the two aspects, or more than one.
I agree, and I would say that at a real extreme case where you have an algorithm or a model that is as accurate as possible, so I don't know, 100% of accuracy, with that model you will be also the first, because you also you also provide good predictions for everyone, let's say. So I don't really see that we are sure that we have a trade-off. Mm-hmm. I see also Navid.
Yeah.
You can.
Thank you. I wanted to also add another dimension to this discussion, and generally maybe a problem that concerns the bias fairness. We really need to understand when we talk about fairness, what we talk about exactly, because there's so many different things, both about bias and fairness, and they are very different than each other. So when we talk about fairness or bias and the other side, accuracy, first we should define what we mean exactly. So we have popularity bias. Then we have, for example, societal biases that exist in documents, in text. These are two very different areas. And then we have discrepancies that happens between the performance of the system. For example, when we have just less women data points in our recommender system, less women user, and we have 80% male, and then the performance of the system for female and male are also discrepant. So this is also another definition of fairness. So I think if we want to talk about the difference between accuracy and fairness, we should really first drill down and define which fairness or which bias we are talking about. And I think the discussion about each of them are completely different than each other. For example, if the fairness is about discrepancy between the service that a recommender system provides to different demographics, Then when we talk about accuracy, in this case, they might not be really a real solution that you can have fairness and accuracy at the same time. But when we talk about fairness in the sense that the decision-making of a system should be agnostic regarding some sensitive attributes such as gender, then you might reach to a point that you have a good accuracy and a fair system, because you just need to remove this protected attribute from the decision-making of system, and it might not even be related. I mean, depending on the data set, it might be related or not. So this just could be just different discussions, in my opinion.
I totally agree. I totally agree, and I think that is also connects to another open issue that I see, that is a lack of awareness in the terminology we use. Because as you said, in some cases we use fairness for things that are not really related to fairness, but they are other kind of biases. So I think that we also need to improve in the way we use our terminology related to this field of bias in general, and then fairness more specifically. And